Welcome back to the new of this family. Today's video is more than just a story. It's a reflection of the struggles, resilience, and strength of our community. Every view, every like, and every share helps amplify the voices that history has tried to silence. Together, we're not just watching, we're standing up against racism and injustice. Thank you for being here and for being part of this movement. Let's dive in. Megan Bradford had never sought drama. For nearly 3 years, she had poured her heart into Lancaster Grill, a modest diner nestled between a gas station and a laundromat on Columbus's east side. Each morning before dawn, she arrived in her rumpled uniform's jeans and a button-down shirt, ready to sweep floors, restock napkins, and refill coffee urns. The first light of sunrise filtered through the front windows as she unlocked the door, and the familiar aroma of brewing coffee felt like home. It wasn't glamorous work. The pay was modest, the hours long, and management largely turned a blind eye to the day-to-day realities. Yet Megan loved the routine, the hiss of eggs on the griddle, the clink of plates sliding across Formica tables, and the soft hum of conversation as regulars settled in with their morning orders, raised by a single mother who instilled in her the simple principles of hard work, respect, and humility. Megan carried herself with quiet dignity. She believed in showing up on time, doing her job well, and treating every customer or coworker with kindness. To her, service was more than taking orders and delivering food. It was about acknowledging another human being's presence. When her younger brother Evan stumbled into campus life at Ohio State University and struggled to cover textbooks and meal plans, Megan took on extra shifts without complaint. She never mentioned the late rent payments or the sore muscles from double shifts. She simply transferred a few extra dollars into Evan's account whenever she could. Protecting her family's well-being felt natural to her, even if it meant skipping lunches or driving a beat-up car teetering on its last miles. Inside Lancaster Grill, favoritism lurked beneath polished countertops and cheery menus. Samantha, the senior waitress with 20 years of experience and a penchant for designer shoes, reserved her brightest smiles for well-dressed businessmen who lingered over cocktails. She flirted shamelessly, offered free refills, and lingered at tables long after orders were delivered. Meanwhile, customers in stained uniforms, truckers hauling freight across state lines, construction workers wiping sweat from their brows off and waited for attention. Jason, a newer server, simply avoided tables that seemed unlikely to tip well. Megan watched in silent frustration as the pattern repeated. The diner's energy shifted based on someone's attire. A crisp suit earned courtesy. Paints plattered. Jacket earned neglect. Confronting the injustice, however, posed risks. Months earlier, during a hectic lunch rush, Megan had gently reminded Samantha that a table had been waiting 15 minutes for water refills. Samantha's response had been a cold laugh, and the words, "You're not paid to be a saint." From that moment, Megan learned that speaking up invited ridicule, or worse, a guard against too much conscience. She chose to keep her opinions to herself. burying her indignation under a polite smile and an apron embroidered with her name. On Wednesday evening, the dinner rush had finally wound down. The usual clatter of plates was replaced by the soft tinkling of a bell above the door. As Megan polished sugar dispensers at the counter, outside, the sky deepened to navy blue, and the diner's neon open sign flickered in the window. She paused to stretch her shoulders, then heard the bell jingle again. Turning, she saw an older black man step inside. His clothes were clean, but worn an unremarkable button-down shirt and slacks, and he carried himself with quiet confidence. For a moment, he hesitated, scanning the room as though bracing himself for the unspoken rules of customer service. Here, Megan recognized that hesitation. She had seen it before in people who sensed they might not receive a warm welcome, and it made her chest tighten. Samantha, leaning against the far counter, flicked her gaze at her phone screen without looking. Jason, mid-laughter with a coworker by the drink station, glanced briefly at the newcomer before returning to his conversation. No hello, no welcome, just silence. Her heart pounded. She wiped her hands on her apron and made a choice. Grabbing a menu, she approached the man's table. "Good evening, sir," she said, her voice warm but steady. He looked up, meeting her eyes, and offered a small nod. "Just you tonight?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," he replied, his tone polite yet weary. She gestured to the booth near the window. "Follow me, please." As he took his seat, she placed a steaming cup of black coffee before him. The rich aroma curled in the dim light. Samantha's eyes narrowed, and Megan felt Jason's disapproval prick at her back. "Gah!" But she refused to look back. "Can I get you anything else?" Megan asked gently. He glanced around, scanning empty chairs and silent servers, then back at her. "Is it always this quiet?" he asked quietly. She managed a small smile. "Tonight's slow, but I can promise you good food." He returned her smile, that brief, genuine flicker that warmed Megan's resolve. When he asked for the pot roast, she nodded and jotted down his order, already moving to place it with the kitchen. Returning with fresh refill, she could feel every pair of eyes on her. Samantha leaned in to whisper something to Jason, both barely disguising their smirks. Despite the tension, Megan set the cup down, offered a reassuring nod, and withdrew. In those moments, she realized how much courage kindness sometimes required, yet the satisfaction of doing the right thing could carry a cost. As Megan wiped down the counter later that night, her thoughts churned. Would standing up for one man's dignity led to consequences she couldn't predict? The diner was supposed to be just a Jabba means to an end. But as she switched off the neon sign and stepped into the calm night air, she sensed that her small act of kindness might change everything. And for the first time in a long while, she wondered whether keeping her head down truly counted as doing what was right. The following morning, as dawn's pale light crept across the parking lot, Megan Bradford sat in her car, hands still on the wheel, staring at the closed glass doors of Lancaster Grill. A chill breeze drifted through the lot, carrying the murmur of passing traffic, but inside her chest, everything felt frozen. Her mind replayed last night's dinner rush and the singular moment of connection she'd forged with the older gentleman. She'd shown him the respect her co-workers had denied him, and in doing so, she'd broken the unspoken code of the diner. What consequences awaited her for that simple act of kindness? She inhaled deeply, wiped her palms on her jeans, and climbed out of the car. She tugged her apron out of the passenger seat, smoothed its creases, and tucked her keys into its pocket. Each step toward the entrance felt heavier than the last. She paused at the door, the open sign still dark, and squared her shoulders. "You've done nothing wrong," she whispered to herself. "Just go in." Inside, the restaurant was quiet to quiet. The usual pre-shift banter between Samantha and Jason was absent. Even the kitchen crew moved with subdued efficiency. Megan caught a glimpse of Tom's car through the narrow window of the office door. He was already inside, likely briefing the morning staff. Her heart thudded as she crossed the linoleum floor. "Morning, Megan," she called softly, her voice echoing. No response. She set her bag down near the hostess stand and glanced around. Samantha wasn't leaning against the counter texting friends. Jason wasn't by the coffee machine teasing the busboy. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerators and the distant drip of a leaky faucet in the back. Quiet, like a tomb. Tom's office door opened, and he stepped out, glancing at his watch. He locked eyes with Megan. "In here," he said flatly, then returned inside without another word. Megan's stomach dropped, and she hurried to follow him. Jostling her purse straps inside the cramped office. Faint light from a single desk lamp illuminated piles of paperwork, coffee-stained receipts, and a half-eaten sandwich on a stack of invoices. The air smelled of stale coffee and cleaning solution. Tom sat behind the cluttered desk, arms folded, expression unreadable. He tapped a finger on the wood veneer. Megan swallowed. "You wanted to see me?" Tom leaned back and exhaled. "Yes. Have a seat." His tone was deliberate, distant. She perched on the edge of a folding chair, apron still on, not daring to smooth it. Tom unfolded a manila folder and slid it toward her. "Your termination paperwork." Her breath caught. "What?" Tom didn't look up. He flipped through the papers. "It's not working out. Effective immediately. 3 years. Perfect attendance. Covering double shifts. Helping train new hires. Countless families served and never a complaint filed. You're firing me." She whispered. "Decisions final." He tapped the papers. "If you'd like your final paycheck, see payroll next week." She stared at the folder as though it might morph into something else, an invitation to reconsider, a typo. But when she glanced at Tom again, his eyes were cold, resolute. He'd made up his mind. Her throat tightened. Tom sighed, a gesture of tired detachment. "You know why?" She closed her eyes, pain and anger swirling. Last night's kindness, greeting the lone customer, seating him, serving him herself. That was the supposed crime. She forced herself to meet his gaze. "It wasn't my fault he was ignored," she said, voice shaking. No one else would even look at him. Tom's jaw clenched. It's not about last night. Then what is it? Heart hammered. He shook his head. Don't make this harder than it is. Megan's chest tightened. Her vision blurred. All the sacrifices she'd made flashed before her, covering Evan's bills. Paying rent on time, skipping meals to afford oil changes, picking up shifts while sore from the last. She pressed her palms to her thighs, fighting back tears. Thought this was my job, she said quietly. Serving people, treating them with dignity. Tom's eyes flickered for an instant regret, disapproval, then returned to cold steel. You can leave your apron here, he said. Security will escort you out if necessary. Her world narrowed to the apron's hem in her hands. She let it drop to the floor, cloth rustling. She stood, voice steady despite the tremor in her limbs. This isn't right, she said. He didn't flinch. It's done. Megan turned to go. At the door, she paused, forcing herself to look back. I hope you're proud of yourself, she said. Tom said nothing. She stepped out, holding her breath. Back in the dining room, Samantha and Jason eyed her in silence. Samantha's smug expression faltered when she saw Megan's face pale, eyes blazing. Jason looked uneasy, as if he expected applause. Instead, Megan lifted her chin and walked past them without a word, letting the door close behind her with a final click. Outside, the morning air bit at her cheeks. Her legs felt unsteady. She slid into her car, slamming the door so hard it rattled the frame. Her breath came in ragged bursts. The parking lot stretched out like a vast, empty stage. What would she do now? Rent was due. Evan needed tuition. Bills waited like vultures. Her phone buzzed in her lap. She stared at the screen. Unknown number. She hesitated, wanting to ignore it, but her thumb tapped answer. Hello, she said. Is this Megan Bradford? Calm male voice asked. She ran a hand through her hair. Yes. This is Richard Lawson. He said her customer from last night. Heard what happened. Her stomach knotted. You own the place. She blurted. There's no easy way to say this, he continued. I was there last night, unannounced. I came to observe how my staff treated people. You were the only one who served me properly. The rest ignored me, made me feel unwelcome. Chest tightened. This man, whom she'd helped without a second thought, now held the power to dismantle her world door to rebuild it. I was just doing my job, she said, swallowing hard. He paused. That's exactly why I'm calling. I let them fire you on purpose, to see if it was a simple mistake or part of a deeper problem. Now I know. I need someone I can trust to run my restaurant fairly, someone who treats people with dignity. Megan's mind whirled. This couldn't be real. You're offering me to come back. Her voice wavered. Yes, he said firmly, as manager. I relieved Tom of his duties this morning. I want you to start tomorrow. Her head snapped up, shock colliding with hope. I don't know what to say. Say you'll do it, he replied, 'cause Lancaster Grill needs you. Her heart thundered. This man, a stranger turned ally, was giving her a chance beyond anything she dared imagine. She swallowed, tears prickling. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll do it." When she hung up, the sun had fully risen, bathing the lot in golden light. Megan sat in stunned silence, gripping the phone. Less than an hour ago, she'd been cast out. Now, she would walk back in with authority. In that moment, she realized that doing the right thing might cost everything, but sometimes it gave you the world. Megan woke before her alarm the next morning, heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nerves. Slipping into a crisp white blouse and dark slacks, her first manager uniform, she felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. In her purse, she tucked the letter Richard Lawson had sent the night before, a simple note confirming her appointment as Lancaster Grill's new manager, effective immediately. He'd reminded her there was no trial period, no second guesses. He believed in her. Arriving just before 7 a.m., Megan found the parking lot already dotted with fellow employees' cars. The neon open sign was still dark, and the smell of early morning dew clung to the air. She paused at the threshold, took a deep breath, and stepped inside. The door chimed softly in the dining area. Servers scurried to set tables and polish glassware. The kitchen staff bustled behind the swinging doors. Samantha stood by the hostess stand, arms folded tightly across her chest, eyes narrowed as she watched Megan approach. Jason hovered near the fryer station, wiping his hands on a rag, glancing down the line. Even Tom's old office Dora, symbol of the past, was now quiet. "Good morning, everyone," Megan called out, her voice steady despite her fluttering stomach. Heads turned, jaws dropped. A hush fell. Samantha let out a soft scoff. Smile wavered. The younger servers, previously accustomed to taking orders from Tom or Samantha, looked on with wide eyes. The kitchen crew exchanged curious glances. Megan stepped toward the counter. "Okay, Megan, your new manager," she announced, sliding her purse onto a stool. "I know this is sudden, but I'm here to support all of you and our customers. Let's make Lancaster Grill a place where everyone feels welcome and safe." Samantha's lips pressed into a thin line. Jason cleared his throat. A waitress named Alina, hired just 2 weeks earlier, stepped forward. "Congratulations," she said softly, offering a tentative smile. A few servers murmured agreement. Megan nodded in gratitude. "Thank you, Alina. I appreciate your support." Megan gathered everyone into a quick pre-shift huddle beside the counter. "Effective today, we're implementing new service guidelines." She began, unfolding a sheet titled Dignity and Fairness Policy. She explained, every server would greet each table within 60 seconds of seating, introduce themselves by name, and deliver water and silverware promptly. Tips would be pooled evenly among front-of-house staff each shift, regardless of individual table assignments. Special attention would go to first-time guests and underserved customers. "Our success depends on teamwork," she said. "Your training and opinions matter. I want your feedback." Unfurled murmurs rippled through the group. Samantha's, eyes flickered to the policy sheet, her jaw tightening. Jason frowned. One of the kitchen cooks, Maria, clapped her hands. "Finally, fairness," she said, her thick accent warm with relief. The younger servers nodded eagerly. Malik, who usually sullenly delivered menus. Rosalind, who hid behind corners to avoid busy tables. They began to exchange hopeful glances. Megan felt a spark of optimism by 7:30 a.m. The lunch crowd trickled in, a construction crew in dusty boots, a cluster of retirees with newspapers, a mother and toddler clutching a sippy cup. Megan stationed herself at the hostess stand to observe. Samantha, initially stiff, cleared her throat and greeted the first table. "Good morning. I'm Samantha. Welcome to Lancaster Grill." Her voice cracked slightly. She showed them, too, a booth and offered menus. Jason, assigned to to-go orders, handled phones with surprising courtesy. When the construction crew filed in, Samantha greeted them the same as the retirees. She balanced plates as if determined to prove she could be professional. Malik, inspired, approached an older man sipping coffee at the counter. "Can I get you a refill, sir?" he asked. The man beamed. "Well, thank you, son." Rosalind delivered ketchup bottles with a genuine smile. The atmosphere began to shift. Behind the counter, Megan coached Jason through the new pooled tip system, explaining how it improved morale and reduced cutthroat competition. At first, Jason bristled. "I work hard for my tables." Megan listened calmly. "You do great work, Jason. But pooling tips encourages everyone to help each other. Customers notice teamwork. That leads to better service all around, and more. Tips for all of us in the long run." He nodded grudgingly, though his arms remained crossed. Midday brought a steady stream of orders. Megan rotated between filling coffee pots, washing dishes, and helping servers clear tables. She offered quick words of encouragement. "Great job remembering Mr. Alvarez's usual order," or "Thank you for checking on that solo guest." Even Samantha, after dropping off a full plate of chicken and waffles, caught Megan's eye and allowed a reluctant half-smile. A small victory when a well-dressed businessman and his colleagues arrived customers who'd once drawn Samantha's exclusive attention. Megan watched Samantha treat them just like anyone else. Menus offered, water glasses filled, smiles genuine. The businessman complimented the omelets, and Samantha deflected with a nod. "I'm glad you like them. Let me know if you need anything. No flirtation, no extra perks." Fairness in action. By 2 p.m., the lunch rush slowed. Servers gathered at the counter for a brief debrief. Megan asked 3 questions. What went well? What could improve? Any unexpected challenges? Alina noted that some older diners missed the personalized banter Samantha used to provide. "They feel rushed," she said. Megan nodded. "We can add a friendly check-in routine for seniors. Ask about their day. Follow up on dietary needs." Malik suggested swapping shifts occasionally so servers could experience different roles. "Cross-training builds empathy," he said. Megan smiled. Excellent idea. As afternoon stretched on, Megan's relief mingled with exhaustion. She opened the office door and found Samantha riffling through menus. Samantha glared. "What are you doing in here?" she snapped. Megan caught herself. Her instinct leaned toward chastisement, but she remembered Richard's faith in her leadership style. She took a breath. "I'm organizing new menu layouts. Would you like to help? Your experience could be valuable." Samantha's expression faltered. After a tense moment, she sighed and nodded. "Fine." Together, they rearranged specials, lists, and updated prices, consulting resource binders for consistency. The tension between them eased slightly as they collaborated. Megan noted Samantha's knack for wording, a talent she could harness. By the time they finished, Samantha offered a curt, "Not bad," before slipping back into her server's role. When 5 p.m. arrived, the early dinner crowd began filing in. Megan rotated back to the hostess stand, greeting each family and couple with warmth. She observed her team, Samantha moving with measured confidence, Jason efficiently batching to-go orders, Malik and Rosaline buzzing through drinks and condiments, Maria and the cooks plating meals on time. The unified effort felt almost electric. At closing time, Megan called the staff together one last time. Exhausted but proud, they gathered by the side door. "Thank you all," Megan began, voice thick with emotion. "Today was our first day under the new guidelines, and you rose to the challenge. We had service consistency, fewer complaints, and even Samantha served 3 extra cups of coffee without being asked. That's progress." A ripple of soft laughter passed through the group. "Tomorrow, we build on this momentum." "I value your input. Keep sharing your ideas. Together, we'll make Lancaster Grill shine." Samantha met Megan's gaze and offered a genuine, if brief, "Good job today." Jason gave a nod, less stiff than usual. Alina grinned. Malik and Rosaline exchanged triumphant high fives. Even Maria gave a discreet thumbs up before slipping back into the kitchen, as Megan locked up the registers and switched off the dining room lights. She reflected on the day's transformations. Change had begun not with grand gestures, but with small actions. A smile, a fair policy, a willingness to listen. Richard's decision to fire her had seemed cruel, yet it had set in motion something extraordinary. Megan gathered her purse, an apron, stepping into the cool night air with a sense of purpose she had never felt before. Tomorrow, Lancaster Grill would awaken to another day of fairness, respect, and uniton. She would be there to lead the way. Competition arrived on Lancaster Grill's doorstep like a thunderclap, just 2 blocks away. A sleek regional chain called Sunrise Diner opened its doors with flashy neon signage and a grand ribbon-cutting ceremony. They touted gourmet pancakes, artisan coffee, and 24-hour breakfast, promising low introductory prices and a loyalty app that offered free meals after 5 visits. Within days, curious crowds snaked around its entrance, drawn by the novelty and marketing blitz. Megan knew the impact would be swift. Cara Diner's charm lay in its warmth and genuine care, but Would that be enough when customers could swipe their phones for digital rewards? On Monday morning, Megan convened. Her managers meeting early. Samantha, still wearing her server's apron despite her promotion to shift supervisor, sat beside Jason, who now handled takeout coordination. Maria, the head cook, and Alina, the enthusiastic new hire, joined them in the back office. Laid out the challenge. Sunrise Diner's lure is their discounts and bells and whistles. We can outspend them, but we can outserve them. Our advantage is community loyalty and personal connection. Cool. We'll launch a Neighborly Appreciation Week starting Friday to remind people what makes us special. She passed around a proposal-themed Nights Local Heroes Monday, offering discounted meals for first responders. Students Sunday with extended happy hour pricing. Senior Social Wednesday featuring live acoustic guitar and complimentary refills. Family Friday with Kids Eat Free promotions. Each event would spotlight community groups and encourage partnerships with local businesses. We'll decorate the diner with photos of our customers, post shout-outs on social media, and invite community leaders to stop by, Megan said. Samantha skimmed the list, brow furrowed. Won't that cut into our margins? She asked. Megan nodded. Yes, but the goal is foot traffic and goodwill. People remember kindness and special treatment far longer than a $1 discount. The team spent the morning mapping out tasks. Lena volunteered to manage social media posts and design flyers. Kason would handle sign-ups for themed nights and coordinate with local organizations. Samantha begrudgingly agreed to greet designated local heroes. Tables personally, her years of experience made her the perfect face for the event. Maria and the kitchen crew tweaked menus, creating special-priced plates and developing family combo offerings. By midday, the plan was set. The real test came that evening, when a torrential downpour drove the breakfast crowd into Sunrise Diner's spacious lobby. Megan and her team watched as soggy patrons flocked to the newcomer, lured by its warm interior. Lancaster Grill's windows steamed as drizzle pattered outside. Business slowed to a trickle. Samantha delivered the last pot roast of the day, eyes weary. I hate losing customers to that place, she muttered. Megan placed a hand on Samantha's shoulder. We'll win them back. Just wait for Thursday's promo. Under the yellow glow of the hanging lights, Megan surveyed her diner. The booths bore the scuffs of decades. The linoleum floor creaked familiarly under each step. A handful of dedicated regulars lingered, Mr. Alvarez reading his newspaper. The Thompson family sharing pancakes, and a group of construction workers fishing for coffee refills. They were the lifeblood of Lancaster Grill people who understood its value. Megan decided to focus on them first. She approached Mr. Alvarez's booth. Mr. Alvarez, she said with a smile. I heard you won the Neighborhood Association Award for Volunteer of the Year. Congratulations. His eyes lit up. How did you know? He asked, surprised. Megan tapped her tablet. We follow community news. You deserve a free slice of pie on Friday. Local Heroes Special. He beamed. I'll be here." Word of mouth rippled through the loyal base. By Wednesday, small crowds returned, greeting Megan by name. Elena's social media campaign highlighted photos of local heroes, and their comments exploded with shares and positive reviews. Samantha, tasked with personalized greetings, rediscovered the joy of connecting authentically. Jason, managing takeout orders customized with handwritten notes, "Enjoy," and "Thank you for your support," found customers tweeting gratitude. Thursdays, outreach to local students brought a surge of college kids eager for budget-friendly meals. Sister restaurants in Evan's dorm building posted flyers. Evan himself posted on campus forums, rallying friends. Lancaster Grill's students' Sunday preview generated buzz. Samantha and Jason organized seating so students could study with free Wi-Fi and discounted coffee refills. The air buzzed with youthful energy as laptops illuminated tabletops. One student, Mia, lingered after finishing her omelet. "I love that you remembered my major," she told Megan. "History, right?" Megan nodded. "And your advisor mentioned you have a big exam next week."
Extra is an extra coffee on me study.
"Well," Mia's eyes glistened, and for a moment, the diner's walls hummed with community spirit. Amidst the resurgence, Megan navigated logistical challenges. Inventory soared, and the kitchen risked running low on popular ingredients. She collaborated with local suppliers, bakers, and butchers to expedite deliveries. Maria adjusted prep schedules, and the kitchen crew worked overtime, motivated by Megan's appreciation and hot coffee. Samantha's hospitable attitude softened as she watched the diner thrive on teamwork. Jason's to-go orders skyrocketed, and he streamlined packaging, branding it with Lancaster Grill stickers proclaiming proudly serving our community since 1985. By Friday morning, the diner gleamed with colorful banners. Neighborly Appreciation Week. The first local heroes tables filled with firefighters, CUS officers, teachers, and nurses, each greeted with applause and complimentary appetizers. Samantha personally escorted them, introducing colleagues and sharing stories of community. Projects, plates piled high with biscuits and gravy vanished as grateful guests filled the air with laughter. Alina captured moments on her phone, posting live updates.
Hashtag Lancaster cares.
And hashtag Grill Heroes trended locally. Megan watched from the counter, chest swelling with pride. Sunrise Diner's managers peeked through their windows, scanning the crowd across the street. Their novelty wore thin compared to the genuine connections unfolding at Lancaster Grill. Soon, curious patrons trickled back. The novelty crowd of discount seekers found that coupons alone could not replicate the warmth they experienced here. By week's end, Lancaster Grill's foot traffic eclipsed Sunrise Diners by a healthy margin. On Saturday afternoon, with the rush subsiding, Megan stepped outside during a lull, inhaling the crisp autumn air. She glanced at the humble facade of the diner, its peeling paint and familiar awning. A sense of accomplishment warmed her. The team gathered for a brief debrief. Samantha, once reluctant, admitted, "I was wrong to doubt this. People want connection." Jason nodded. I've never felt this busy and motivated. Alina beamed. Our social reach grew by 200 followers this week. Maria chimed in, and we sold out of our signature pie special before closing. Megan looked around at her team once fractured by favoritism, now united by purpose. She thought of Richards. Faith when he fired Tom to test her mettle, and of the man she served who saw her integrity. The challenges of competition and changing market dynamics had tested them, but in the face of adversity, Lancaster Grill had not just survived, had flourished. The diner's true value lay not in discounts or apps, but in the bonds forged between neighbors and the daily rituals of shared meals. As the sunset painted the sky in rose and gold, Megan returned inside to close up. She switched off the neon sign, straightened chairs, and counted the day's receipts. Tomorrow, she would plan the next theme, perhaps a harvest dinner celebrating local farmers. For now, she savored the moment of calm after the storm. Lancaster Grill's heart beat strong, and under her leadership, it would continue to be more than a diner. It would be the community's gathering place, where respect and kindness were served as generously as the food itself. Days after Neighborly Appreciation Week, Lancaster Grill settled into a new rhythm. Megan arrived each morning before sunrise to unlock the doors and flip on the lights, greeting the sleepy parking lot with the promise of fresh coffee and warm biscuits. Inside, the staff had adopted routines born of teamwork rather than hierarchy. Server duos rotated shifts together, trading tips on handling difficult tables. Line cooks cross-trained on grill and sauce stations, and dishwashers slipped into front-hove house roles during quiet moments. The diner thrummed with energy, as though every elbow grease-polished countertop and every perfectly stacked plate carried the momentum of collective pride. On this particular Tuesday, the sun streamed through the windows, painting golden rectangles. On the checkerboard floor, Megan tucked stray hairs behind her ears, then surveyed the morning prep. Maria, whose quiet efficiency now inspired respect rather than fear, oversaw the cook line as they prepped bacon, scrambled eggs, and stacks of toast. Jason and Alina moved like a well-oiled machine, assembling to-go coffee orders in branded cups and arranging pastries in well-lit display cases. Samantha, once resistant to change, warmly guided new hires through upselling specials with genuine enthusiasm. By 8:30 a.m., a steady breakfast crowd filled every booth. A pair of school teachers' new regulars after students Sunday animatedly compared lesson plans over pancakes. A group of construction workers from a nearby project laughed over chipped coffee mugs as Megan delivered steaming mugs herself. "Thanks, boss," one grinned, tapping the saucer. Megan smiled back, appreciating how the title manager no longer felt foreign. But something she'd earned mid-morning brought the first challenge of the day. A family of 4 parents with 2 small children slid into a booth, disheveled and weary from a long road trip. Their toddler, barely 2 years old, whimpered as his bottom front tooth poked through the gum. The mother, pale and exhausted, asked softly for a children's menu with minimal sugar and plain toast. Samantha, balancing a clipboard of refill, Requests hesitated. "We're almost out of plain toast," she admitted. The father frowned. "Is there anything else?" Samantha glanced at the kitchen, where cooks busied themselves with omelets. Normally, she would shrug and say, "You choose," but something held her back. Instead, she caught Megan's eye across the room. Megan strode over. "Let's make fresh toast," she said firmly, tapping Samantha's order pad. "2 slices, no sugar. And let's throw in some applesauce in the house." She knelt to the toddler's level. "You're doing great, buddy. A snack will help." Neat toddler's tear-filled eyes widened, and he offered a shy, grateful smile. The parent's tension melted. "Thank you," the mother murmured. "Means so much." Samantha exhaled, shoulders relaxing. A lesson in empathy had triumphed over efficiency. By lunchtime, the diner overflowed. Megan had scheduled her managerial duties to coincide with the peak, one hand greeting guests and the other fielding staff questions at the register. The new tip pooling system continued to foster cooperation when a server lagged. Coworkers covered without snide remarks. Even Jason, who once balked at sharing rewards, cheered when a harried busboy pitched in to help clear tables during the rush at 2 p.m. With the lunch crowd finally thinning, a brusque visitor entered, a sharply dressed representative from Sunrise Diner, clipboard in hand. He scanned the room, eyebrows raised at the camaraderie evident in every corner. He approached Megan. "Ms. Bradford," he asked, voice clipped. "I'm Martin Kelleher, district manager for Sunrise. I'd like to discuss cross-promotional opportunities." Megan blinked. Sunrise had never sought collaboration before. They'd always undercut Lancaster Grill with ads and coupons. She paused, weighing her response. "Mr. Kelleher, I appreciate your interest," she began evenly. "But our focus is on building community ties rather than corporate partnerships." Martin's lips pressed into a thin line. Interesting stance for a small diner. He left his card on the counter. "Let me know if you change your mind." Megan returned the card to him with a polite nod. "Thank you." He departed, leaving a ripple of curiosity among nearby tables. The abrupt encounter reminded Megan that the diner's success was fragile, dependent on authentic connection rather than gimmicks. She gathered her team for a quick debrief in the back kitchen. "They approached me about cross-promotions," she explained. "But we won't compromise our values for short-term gains." Samantha chimed in. "We've seen what happens when you chase sales at all costs." Jason nodded. "We're better than that." Maria, flipping pancakes, added, "Our customers come for more than food, they come for respect." Megan smiled proudly. "Exactly. Let's keep it that way." Afternoons often brought quieter moments when Megan could review inventory, inspect equipment, and touch base with suppliers. Today, however, she noticed a red flag. The coffee roaster was sputtering, threatening delays in her favorite house blend. She called the supplier, arranged an emergency service visit, and deployed Jason to arrange a temporary substitute roast so morning crowds wouldn't suffer. When the repair team arrived, Megan showed them around, ensuring the new customers didn't slip through the cracks. Every detail mattered, as twilight settled. The dinner crowd swelled, families gathering for leisurely meals, couples on casual dates, truckers stopping for a hot plate before the long haul. The din of conversation, laughter, and clattering dishes filled the air. Megan rotated between tables, checking in, offering dessert samples, and noticing subtle glances of gratitude. Mrs. Thompson, a retiree who spent her afternoons knitting at her favorite booth, surprised Megan with a hand-stitched "thank you" card. "For making this place feel like home," it read. Megan's eyes glistened, but she tucked the card into her apron pocket. In the back office, Samantha and Jason chatted quietly over closing numbers. "I never thought I'd enjoy closing shifts," Jason admitted. "But there's something satisfying about ending the day together, knowing we did it right." Samantha smiled. "Teamwork beats favoritism any day." Just then, the bell above the door jingled. Megan turned to see a tall figure in a dark coat step inside. The restaurant's chatter dipped briefly. Servers paused mid-task. Megan recognized him instantly, Richard Lawson, the owner who had set this transformation in motion. He scanned the room, eyes resting on each staff member before settling on Megan. With a subtle nod, he made his way behind the counter. "Good evening, everyone," he said, voice steady. The staff greeted him with warm smiles, no fear, no hesitation. "Ha!" Richard approached Megan. "How's my restaurant doing?" he asked softly. She swallowed, heart full. "Better than ever," she replied. "We had a minor equipment issue, but we handled it without sacrificing service. Our staff has never been more united, and customers keep returning." Richard walked through the dining room, listening to conversations. He observed Samantha laughing with a new trainee, Jason assisting a busboy, and Maria plating a specialty dish with pride. He glanced at the framed photos of local heroes and the thank you card pinned beside them. Finally, he returned to Megan. "This place feels alive," he said. "You've built something remarkable." Megan exhaled, relief and joy mingling.
Fair?
"I couldn't have done it without the team." He offered his hand, and together they shook on the future. "Keep leading with integrity," he said. "I have complete confidence in you." As he stepped back into the dining area and waved at the staff, the bell jingled again. Resuming the hum of the evening dot, Megan returned to her post behind the counter, scanning the room as if seeing it anew. The challenges of community events, rival chains, equipment failures, and staff training had tested her leadership, and each obstacle had birthed growth. Under her guidance, Lancaster Grill had become more than a diner. It was a beacon of respect and kindness, its pulse steady and strong as closing time approached and the last guests trickled out. Megan gathered her team one final time. "Tonight was another success," she said, voice soft but firm. "We'll tackle tomorrow's challenges together, as always." Heads nodded, spirits buoyed. Megan switched off the neon sign and locked the door, stepping into the quiet night with the knowledge that, no matter what came next, Lancaster Grill would thrive on the simple truth that dignity and compassion were the greatest ingredients of all. Sunday dawned crisp and clear, the autumn air tinged with the promise of change. Megan Bradford arrived at Lancaster Grill earlier than ever. Determined to ensure everything ran smoothly on her first full weekend as a seasoned manager, she slipped into her dark slacks and white blouse, now softly faded from countless washes, tucked her phone into her apron pocket, and flipped the open sign. Inside, the kitchen crew was already lining up plates of scrambled eggs and bacon. The servers were clearing off the hostess stand. Jason was restocking to-go coffee cups. Samantha adjusted table settings with the precision of a seasoned pro. The diner hummed with anticipation. Megan paused at the doorway, surveying the scene. This moment 6 months after she had been abruptly fired felt almost surreal. What began as a desperate test of her character had blossomed into a thriving enterprise built on respect and community. Under her leadership, favoritism had been banished, staff morale soared, and customers returned in droves. Yet she knew the true challenge lay not in initial success, but in sustaining it. Complacency, after all, could undo progress as swiftly as adversity could spark it. She tapped her fingers lightly on the counter and called out, "Team huddle in 5 minutes." One by one, her staff gathered around the hostess stand, Samantha with her notepad, Jason clutching a pen, Alina eager-eyed, Maria wiping her hands on her apron, and even Malik and Roslyn once shy newcomers lining in. Megan felt a swell of pride. "Today we begin our gratitude week," she announced, handing out flyers. "We'll celebrate the people who make Lancaster Grill more than a place to eat. We'll invite our regulars to share stories why they keep coming back, what this place means to them. We'll feature their stories on our walls and social media. And we'll host a community open house next Saturday with local artists, poets, and live music." Heads nodded. This isn't just about marketing. It's about honoring the bonds we've forged. Samantha raised her hand. "Will this cut into our prep time?" Megan nodded thoughtfully. "We'll adjust schedules, shorter shifts midweek, staff rotations so everyone gets a break, and a volunteer story catcher, Roll Elena. You've got a knack for interviews, so you can lead that." Alina beamed, and the others offered supportive smiles. Megan continued, "We'll also introduce a quarterly staff meeting like this, but longer, where we review feedback, brainstorm improvements, and recognize outstanding contributions. I want this culture to endure beyond me." With the plan in place, the team dispersed to their stations. Megan slid behind the register to greet the first customers, the Thompsons with their toddler twins, Mr. Alvarez with his newspaper, the construction crew with their dusty boots. Each was greeted by name, each order delivered with care. Loyalty had blossomed into genuine affection. "Morning, Megan," called Mr. Alvarez, patting the counter. "Ready for my usual?" Megan grinned. "And a slice of apple pie for dessert, on the house." He nodded, pleased. By mid-morning, Megan slipped into her office for a few minutes of quiet reflection. She opened the drawer and took out a worn envelope, the first letter Richard Lawson had sent her, offering her the manager position. Inside lay her handwritten acceptance. She fingered the edges, savoring the memory of her disbelief and the hope that followed. She spotted the young manager's manual. He'd left its pages marked with notes encouraging empathy and fairness. She ran her finger along a highlighted passage. Lead by example. Respect begets respect. That simple principle had become the cornerstone of Lancaster Grill's transformation. Her reverie ended when Alina poked her head in. "Mr. Thompson wants a refill," she whispered. Megan nodded, closed the drawer, and followed her out. Diner was bustling, families chatting over pancakes, couples sipping coffee, solo patrons tapping away on laptops. Samantha glided through the crowd, balancing plates with ease. Jason laughed with a customer on the phone, scheduling a catering order for tomorrow's church brunch. Maria peeked out from the kitchen window, giving Megan a thumbs up. Every gesture spoke of a team united. As the lunch hour crescendoed, Megan remained on her feet, filling in wherever needed, pouring coffee, washing dishes, rolling silverware, smoothing tablecloths. She marveled at the camaraderie, the way servers supplemented each other, how the kitchen adapted to custom requests, how even the dishwasher smiled when handing out extra napkins. Productivity soared, and the stress of the lunch rush felt somehow invigorating. Following the rush, Megan escorted her staff to the back room for the inaugural quarterly meeting. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as they settled around a folding table laden with donuts and iced tea. Megan began, "First, thank you. Every one of you has made Lancaster Grill what it is today. Now, let's talk. What's working, what's not, and how we can keep improving." Malik spoke up first. "I love the new storyboards, but maybe we can rotate them more often. People get excited seeing fresh faces." Megan scribbled a note. "Rotations schedule monthly," Roseline added. "Could we add a suggestion box for customers?" "Absolutely," Megan said. "Let's place it by the register." Samantha, her tone measured now, suggested, "Some of us would like more training on the new POS system. Sometimes the app glitches." Megan nodded. "I'll schedule a refresher with the vendor." Even Jason Hood once resisted team tipping, confessed. "I still struggle when it's super busy." Maybe we could pilot a runner position to help during peak hours. Maria chimed in. The cooks could rotate someone out to cover the wait when it's mad. Megan beamed. "Great ideas. Let's draft a trial schedule." The meeting ended. With applause and energy solutions in hand, momentum renewed. As the team returned to the floor, Megan lingered briefly, letting the gravity of their collaboration sink in. She straightened a chair, smoothed the menu, and stepped behind the counter, ready for the afternoon crowd. That evening, as twilight cloaked the diner in soft shadows, Megan received a text from Richard, stopping by in 10. She glanced at the clock. 7:30 p.m. Perfect timing for a final check of the day. She returned to the hostess stand, smoothing her blouse, taking a deep breath. Richard entered through the back door, as he often did, unseen by the evening patrons. He paused, arms folded, surveying the transformations since his last visit. the vibrant chalkboard announcing Gratitude Week, the framed customer stories lining the walls, the staff moving in harmonious choreography. A low murmur of conversation filled every nook. Megan spotted him and waved. "Good evening, Mr. Lawson." He nodded, stepping out into the dining area. "Impressive, Megan," he said, voice quiet so only she could hear. "Wanted to see Gratitude Week in action." She led him to a booth where a local poet recited haikus about community over coffee. Customers listened, enthralled. She showed him the suggestion box near the register, half full with handwritten notes praising the staff and offering ideas. He watched as Samantha approached two elderly women with warm cookies. Jason delivered a family's to-go order with a smile, and Maria passed by with a plate of fresh biscuits. He caught Megan's eye. "You did this," he said softly. "You built this culture." Megan swallowed, feeling the weight of his praise. "We built it together," she replied. "I only set the direction." They embraced it. Richard nodded. True leaders inspire others to lead. He reached into his coat and produced a small box. "A token of appreciation," he said, handing it to Megan. Inside was a simple enamel pin, the diner's logo encircled by the words, "Integrity in Service." Megan's throat tightened. "Thank you," she whispered. He smiled. "Keep wearing it?" Then he leaned closer. "I'm planning to open another location next year. I want you to oversee it." Her eyes widened. "Another Lancaster Grill." He nodded. "Your leadership is the reason this place thrives. I need someone I trust to replicate it." The gravity of his offer settled between them. Running one diner had tested her resilience. Expanding to two but with the same culture posed an even greater challenge. Megan felt a surge of determination. "I'm honored," she said. "I'll do my best." Richard extended his hand, and they shook firmly. He stepped back into the bustling dining area, blending into the scene he had created. Megan watched him go, then turned to survey her staff, united, empowered, and thriving. She felt a profound sense of purpose as the clock ticked toward closing time. Megan locked the back door, flipped off the neon sign, and gathered her team for one last moment together. "Tonight, we celebrated connection and gratitude," she said. "Tomorrow, we begin building our second location together. Thank you for everything." Cheers rippled through the room. Megan stepped outside into the cool night, pinning the enamel logo to her apron. The world felt wide with possibility. Under her guidance, Lancaster Grill had become more than a diner, was a testament to the power of respect, unity, and unwavering integrity. And now, as they prepared to grow, she knew the journey would only deepen the bonds that made their success possible.